So folks, welcome to our final session for Life Ready, Work Ready conference been going on this week. Hopefully you've been able to join some of the sessions. I've definitely been in a few of them, and I think the calibre of presenters has been absolutely fantastic. Today is certainly no different. So looking forward to welcoming Gemma Taylor from STEM Learning. No pressure, no pressure. Today to talk to us a little bit more about STEM, what's going on across New Anglia, and then we'll be working on Glen Todd, who is the Enterprise Advisor Network Manager and Careers Hub Manager, talking to us a little bit more about National Apprenticeship Week, as well as virtual work experience. But I'm going to hand over to Gemma now to talk to us a little bit more about STEM learning. Thanks, Gemma.
Thank you very much. No pressure indeed. Just one check, how would you like me to share my slides?
You should be able to share screen.
Oh, I can now. Thank you very much. Wait. Okie dokie. So can someone who's got a mic on please yell at me if you can see some slides?
Yep, can see it, no problem.
Okay. So the session that I'm kicking off today with is all about stuff and things to do with careers. So STEM learning do loads and loads and loads of stuff. I could talk to you all day for several weeks about the vast array of support that's available. So what I wanted to do today was to really narrow that down into things which are relevant to STEM career learning, STEM careers education, and what's relevant right now that you can be doing right now. So my Twitter tag's on there and you'll see it on the slides. If you want to follow me or kind of just get in touch and ask a direct question, you're very, very welcome to. My Twitter feed tends to be full of STEM careers stuff, design and technology stuff, because that's my other hat, and cats. So if that's your thing, feel free to follow me. So firstly, hello. Yeah, I work for STEM Learning and I'm the Design Technology, Engineering and Careers Lead. So the reason I'm talking to you today is from my careers hat. But before I was a STEM Learning person, I was a teacher, as everyone who's in the education team for STEM Learning has been a teacher. And before that, I was an engineer. Before that, I was a STEM ambassador. So I've got like this weird history of having tried everything to eventually get to where I am now. So part of the reason why I've become kind of in charge of the careers program is because of that kind of industry experience has enabled me to see how if we can get a bit of industry into education, it just helps to sell. Sometimes it's useful to have someone else do the selling for you, and sometimes it's useful for someone else to give you good ideas that you can talk to young people about. So that's the context today, why I'm here talking to you. I guess like the first question, a bit of a kind of a thought bubble for yourself is the term STEM career learning. If you were to walk into a school or college, or kind of if you're from an employer perspective, if you were thinking about what that actually means, just having a think to yourself about what that might look like, what that might sound like in an education setting, the term STEM career learning. So there you are, there's 2 or 3 seconds just to mull it over yourselves. What I often get told by people when I ask that question is displays, career strategy, working with employers, videos, linking employees into lessons, getting kids to go home and do some homework where they ask their parents about something in the news, all of that. What I'm not going to do over the next kind of half an hour is give you loads and loads of ideas in that way, because I think loads of that's already happening. And the big thing for me is giving out a framework of what STEM career learning needs to cover, what are our priorities, because if we know what we're trying to achieve, then all of the wonderful things that kind of a lot of people are doing already in schools, and all of the wonderful things that you might see on Twitter or see from friends, all of that's applicable, but you need a framework to hang it off. So everything that I'm saying feeds from the Gatsby career benchmarks. It's all suitable to that. We're just looking at it from a STEM perspective. So you've got that career strategy, you've got that framework of career support. What does that look like in STEM? So kicking off is the 6 strategies that we're working with. So think of this as a framework, and this is what I'm going to unpick with you just to kick this evening's session off. So these are the 6 ways that we think we're developing STEM career learning when working with young people. So the first one is understanding the importance of STEM in their lives and the lives of others. And that's us helping them to understand, helping young people to see the value of what they're learning in their own lives. Secondly is challenging the perception that STEM isn't for me. So those young people that just think it's not an option for them, or people growing up thinking that's not something they can do. Thirdly, being aware of the wide range of roles available within STEM industries. And a lot of people, when I ask them what is STEM career learning, that's often one of the most frequent things, is showing people lots of jobs and giving people ideas about different study routes. At the top right, seeing the value and transferability of STEM skills sometimes gets missed off. I think when people are kind of thinking about what they can do to support STEM careers, it's every time you're helping a young person to see how what they're learning in your lesson is transferable to other lessons, you're setting them on a path to understand how what they're learning with you, or how what they learn in one job is transferable to other jobs. So it's kind of helping them see that the value of what they're learning longer term. Developing employability skills, that comes into it, and it is done all the time in STEM lessons. And when I say the term STEM, I'm not talking about kind of combining those lessons. I'm talking about that as an acronym for science, D&T, engineering, maths, computing lessons. And then increasing awareness of study routes and labour market information, which again, kind of those bottom two are like, yes, I know what they mean, I know what they are, getting in jobs, giving people experiences. But the top four, depending on what experience you've got, or particularly your passion. So I'm a female engineer. So when I was teaching, my passion was getting more girls into engineering. Sometimes we can go down one of the four quite specifically and kind of forget it's a wider framework to work from. So that's the top level. What I'm going to do is just kind of unpick where we've come from with that, and then reassure you that there is some support out there. So we're not just kind of leaving you with this bombshell. So firstly, understanding that the value of what young people are learning. The reason why this is part of our framework is because statistics like this. So the Wellcome Trust do a study, and this is a study from a couple of years ago, where young people were asked if science was important to them and if science was important to society, and less than half the students responded with science is important to them, and just over half said science is important to society. Now, with what's happened over the past few months, I imagine that will have gone up. With so much conversation around vaccine, around ventilators being redone. There's just so much conversation that's happened around the importance of kind of, especially scientific careers, but kind of STEM careers in general. I would hope that's gone up, but it's such a shocking fact when we know that it's important that they have these skills. I guess the big thing for me to say from a STEM organisation is, when we say we want young people to value STEM in their lives and the lives of others, we're not talking about all young people having to go into STEM careers. That's not the aim here. The aim is that young people know that there is a value in sitting in that lesson, and there's a value in having a qualification in the subject, because that's an open door then. And all that we want is for every young person to have the opportunities that are there within STEM. So ways in which you can do this, firstly, is just picking out the issues, going out to young people and working out what it is they want and not guessing. So this is where that unconscious bias comes in. And my example I always use is, I used to teach a lot of naughty boys in my D&T lessons. All the naughty boys used to spend time with me. So I used football a lot as an example. I'm teaching Leeds United as an example, easy win. Actually, that's my bias on the boys in front of me, thinking that football is going to incentivise them. Using student voice to work out what are the issues that bother them, using student voice to work out what's actually going on in their lives that you can kind of wind your topics into. It kind of forms part of the science capital approach we're teaching. So this is a larger underpinned point, but always starting with what's important with the young people in front of you. Other things to consider around kind of increasing that importance of the subject would be giving them examples that they can talk to with their families. So the icons at the bottom, I've got, for example, sustainability, climate change, password protection, driverless cars, and getting them to go home and talk to their families and have some discussion around what their parents think around it. Is this something that, do they use passwords? Do they use them at work? Do they use them at home? Well, yeah, actually, everyone who's got a phone will have a password to get into it. So kind of having those, translating what they're learning in school to just pick up those topics at home will help them to realise that maybe it's an important topic for their parents, but they didn't realise, oh, I didn't realise that was science. I didn't realise that was D&T. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one, for challenging the perception that STEM isn't for me. Question here, what percentage of female year 11 students, when asked 2 years ago, considered themselves best at a STEM subject? Have a think in your mind. Are you a 13% kind of person, a 33% or a 53%? So if you said 33%, so that's 1/3 of females, when asked, said that they were best at a STEM subject, but that increases to 60%, so nearly 2/3 if you ask boys. So we've already got an issue where by the time kids get to year 11, making those A-level choices, girls are starting to see themselves as not as good at those subjects. There's loads of research in this area. You could spend hours and hours and hours looking at just this point alone. So that the big things for me to pull out are kind of topics from Aspires 2, which is a really formative piece of research in this area, looking at a wide range of things, but in particular for this, the fact that STEM subjects are perceived as being for the clever, some of the boys, not all. If you look at the statistics for biology, for example, it's actually a majority female studied subject. And sometimes it's seen as something that kind of negative terminology geek, that type of thing. So we've got a lot of battling on our hands to try and get young people to see that it's for everyone. And there are lots of different routes into it. So our top tips for that, top tips include just getting loads of role models in, a wide variety. So making sure you get role models from different places and from different points of life. So apprentices, graduates, kind of more mature, people who've come from lots of different places, people who've had lots of different experiences. I'd say don't try and second guess. You want a mix of gender, background, ethnicity, just wide variety, and give people lots and lots of opportunity, give young people lots and lots of opportunity to learn from the wide variety of people in front of them. As in my example, many years ago when I was teaching, I invited a female apprentice engineer to come and talk to my engineering class. And that female apprentice engineer went to the school that I was teaching at. She was alumni, and she was told to do hair and beauty. And after a year of the course, she decided, nope, I'm going to go and do an apprenticeship in engineering. She loves it. So she was well up for coming into school and talking about her experiences. And I had 3 girls at the back of the room who I thought would really engage with this young girl in front of them. And what I found over the hour was that the 3 girls at the back looked at her and thought, she's nothing really like me. She was from a different place. She had a different way of speaking, very different personality, very different background. The boys at the front loved the fact that she drove a souped up Focus and that she had bags of money. Basically, that's what I could get from my boys. So don't try and second guess, just wide variety, as many as possible. I'd say challenging stereotypes where you can. My example there of trying to challenge stereotypes. Just try and kind of, to challenge them, you need to know what it is students are thinking. So put a question out there to ask students what they think about STEM subjects or people that work in them or your particular subject. And it doesn't have to be a big survey. It could just be at the end of a piece of homework or at the end of an exam, at the end of an assessment. You just write a question at the bottom, which is nothing to do with necessarily subject knowledge. It's just a question about like what do they want to do when they grow up. What kind of value, can you give me an example of how this subject is used outside of the classroom? Just something little, just to find out what they're interested in. Okay, so beware, big red letters, beware. So my big thing about beware is Emily Warren Roebling. Okay, maybe you know who she is, maybe you don't. If you can read the tiny text, you might be able to have a hint there. Brooklyn Museum. She was really, really important in the creation of a part of Brooklyn. I am mad passionate for Emily Warren Roebling. I think she's an absolute ledge. So what she did is amazing. If you're not aware, this is Brooklyn Bridge on a very, very sunny day. Emily Warren Roebling is the wife of the son of the guy that designed Brooklyn Bridge. Okay, so the guy that designed it, the engineer, the project manager running the site, unfortunately was going down into the Cassians as they were building it and got the bends. He sadly died and his son had to take over because it's a family project. Family were being ruined if they didn't complete it. He was an engineer, so he went out and did the same thing as dad and ended up getting really poorly. And his wife had to take over. So with no formal engineering education, she taught herself the maths needed to understand the conversation and then conveyed her husband's messages to the site and basically kind of project manage the project. I think that's amazing. And that's incredible, because if you look at old pictures of Brooklyn Bridge, which I can't show you because I don't have any which kind of uncopyrighted, it's incredible that you just see loads of top hats. I like when I was and a teaching engineer who used to put this on the screen all the time and show the kids and go, she's amazing. But what I was showing them was someone who I was bothered about, who actually had died a long time ago and did something in a place that they'd never been to. So just beware, if you're trying to inspire kids, use their interests and use their opinions. Show them your own by all means, but just make sure it's part of the wide range. Emily Warren Roebling can stay being my passion project. Okay, so being aware of a wide range of role models. I've chosen for this to just talk about STEM ambassadors because there's just so many of them, over 33,000. And now we can go online. You can access the ones in your region, the ones out of your region, and your STEM Ambassador Hub is fantastic at creating that experience for you. So these volunteers all come from a STEM industry or STEM further study. They've all signed up to be part of this fantastic program, and it is a national treasure. And we're really, really proud to be part of it and to be able to kind of offer that out to youth groups and schools and kind of anyone that needs that kind of support from a volunteer ambassador with an under 18. If you are interested, but you can't have a face-to-face like we can do now, what I thought is I'd just put some ideas which are available right now, so you could put them into your lessons next week or the week after if you want to just dribble in some careers content. So firstly, going online is crucial here, and there are loads and loads of STEM ambassador opportunities to gain some experience of what it's like to do a different job that are out there on the internet already. So here's a link to one. These are career talks. Your local STEM Ambassador Hub will have the ones that they can share. These are just ones that I've done a bit of a general search. So without much Googling, you can find some really sweet videos from people who've done a presentation on what they do. Now, these are a bit long, but you don't have to watch all of it. You can advise students to watch a few minutes here or there. If you want something a bit shorter, then here's some short examples of people who've just talked about what it's like to be them. So what they do in their daily job. A lot of that might be in their kitchen or their front room right now with everyone working from home, but it's a different face and it's a different person talking about some really cool stuff. So I've put a link to that. This is held in a Padlet as an example. There's also stuff like Guess My Job. So a little like 5-minute video where someone talks about these are the things that I'm qualified in and these are the areas I work in. Can you guess what I do? So there's another idea. And there's also some videos that we've been preparing at STEM Learning. So we've got some videos from STEM Ambassadors where they talk about something which is about the curriculum. So in this example, Sarah talks about the cloud. She's a cloud evangelist. So a cloud evangelist for Microsoft giving a 5-minute explanation about what the cloud is. Don't get much better than that. And it is an incredible video. Bryony underneath, there's another example. Her PhD is on how you can use I'm a D&T teacher, not a biologist. So basically, like, you know, like the funky, like guava berries and all the healthy nutrients. She puts them into these nutrition bars, and she's trying to see if what you eat can reduce the chance of you getting PTSD when you're in the army. That's incredible. So the way that she's doing it is she's formulating different nutrition bars, and then she puts them into a gut model. And then she's basically producing poo and analysing what that is like with different nutritions. And then she's working with a group in America who are studying the PTSD bit and kind of experimenting that further. So I basically just in awe. And interesting there, you've got two people who both arrived at their career through ways that they weren't expecting. So Sarah got into computing because her food teacher needed some IT support, and Bryony didn't do so well in her A-levels first time around. So went back, restudied, and is now doing a PhD. So there's loads of other examples like that out there, but these are like kind of 2 to 5 minute videos that you can put in. Be inspired, do your own. There's loads of ambassadors out there who will give you a little bit of a snapshot about what they do. They do such cool jobs, and right now it's very easy for someone to do what I'm doing, which is just start their webcam up and talk a little bit about what they do. And what do people love to talk about? Themselves. So ambassadors are fantastic because if you just give them a bit of a kind of what I'd like is maybe 3 or 4 questions, and then we can go out to the class, or what I'd like is for you to talk about your job for 5 minutes, and give them a tight window and get your own videos created. Okay, moving on to the transferability of STEM skills. So I kind of mentioned it here that the key to this is part of STEM career learning, and it gets missed off. Every time you're saying you did this in maths, come on, you did this in science. That's a really good example of if kids can translate that information, then they can translate the skills they learn in one subject into potentially future careers. So we're helping them see the value of all of these subjects and how they knit together. And that's actually career learning. So if you're wondering about, I don't know if I'm doing enough for careers, if you're helping them value these experiences, and my example for this is design thinking, computational thinking, scientific thinking. These are all thinking skills, mathematical thinking, and they're actually, if you break it down, they're all really similar anytime you're going for a kind of thought process. So just when you are teaching content, I mean, D&T's are kind of a good example because there is set science and maths content in there, helping young people to see how people in the real world also will be multidisciplined. Okay, so you can start to set the seed for future learning. And also, if we don't know what you're going to be doing in 40 years' time, this week I chatted to a knowledge engineer. Her job's ridiculous. Her job is to help scientists put metadata onto their research and to help them organize research. Because as the scientists generate data, a knowledge engineer, she's working at Oxford University and she's trying to help make that searchable and make it function for other research groups. She didn't know that job existed when she was growing up. So helping them to see the transferability will help prepare them for this world where things are going to keep changing. Employability skills, it's been discussed a lot, so I won't spend too much time on it, but there's a couple of resources on this slide which I think are particularly useful. And we've got our poster, and then the skills builder framework is fantastic. And then kind of that formal understanding about study routes, that's part of STEM career learning. So going on visits, increasing your own knowledge, talking to your careers leader, talking to careers advisors, just gelling up really and getting your head around everything. Getting employers in and then being part of that visit so that you get to hear it too. Don't kind of pass it on to someone else if you can be in there, or really cleverly, if you can get someone into the room who maybe doesn't have the knowledge, another teacher, then kind of use these experiences as a chance to upskill from a teaching perspective as well. Same with going on visits, get people into the visits who need the experience, and then just kind of meeting lots and lots of people and gathering what you can. There are loads of posters, there are loads of stuff that you can download, and I'll kind of give you a link to that in a minute. That's kind of my starters for 10. So everything I've talked about, it all exists in a resource. I don't like the idea of me sharing stuff with you and then kind of leaving you hanging. So what we've been working on for the past few months has been something called the Teacher's Guide. So it's a free teacher's guide on linking curriculum to careers, focused at secondary with some support for FE and primary. It's pretty self-explanatory. For every strategy that I shared with you, we give you 3 things to get started and 3 things to go further. So if you do the maths, that's 36 things that you can be doing. And what we're kind of, the assumption is that posters and videos and like all of that goes for everything. These are kind of framework suggestions to make sure you've got that wide coverage, that wide berth of how we can really support young people to see STEM as an option for them. I've mentioned student voice. I'd feel a bit rude if I didn't give you some sort of support for that. So we have got free resources, free surveys, Word documents, download, edit, do anything you want to them. Nick the questions. You don't need to use all questions, just nick the ones which you think are relevant. And if you want to tweak them, go for it. Big thing is just before and after, keep the same questions so you can see the impact. And impact is one of the things that gets missed off. If you're doing loads of stuff, before you, like as soon as you can, just get in and ask a few questions just to see what students think about careers related to your subject. And then if those if their knowledge increases and their awareness increases and their interest increases, you've then got hopefully some demonstrable impact that you can use to maybe get some more time to dedicate to careers. If there's any careers leaders or you know any careers leaders, we've also been working on a new resource for them. So it's been called the Bible for STEM careers. This is big. If you're a teacher, don't touch this one, do the Teacher's Guide. This is really, really big, and with workload as it is, this is something that you need to be looking at a strategic level across your school or college. From a strategic point of view, it unpicks each benchmark. So we take each benchmark, we look at top tips, then we provide some quite detailed guidance as to how STEM can support a career strategy within a school or college. So it's all from that perspective of what can STEM do to help. Okay. And then for employers, hot off the press, an employer's guide is launching in 4 weeks. And this will look at each of the Gatsby benchmarks and give some suggestions of what employers can do to cover all 8, to support all 8 in schools and colleges. there's an example of that. So in terms of other stuff and things that's been going on, our London STEMbassador Hub have been producing a podcast. It's ACE, it's 20, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, they all change. It's just a kind of opening a door on someone who's doing a cool job. From a teacher's perspective, I would listen to it and nick some bits out of it. If you listen to anything, listen to Mimi Isabella. She tells an amazing story of how she became an assistant materials engineer. I won't say any more, but if you have got 10 minutes and can listen just to the first bit, it's so interesting how she finds her career. So these people, there's way more. I just took a snapshot, easily available. And you could set that as remote learning. You could ask a kind of a year 12 group, year 13 group, just to kind of pick someone and to kind of write about their experience. You could even set it as a review. So maybe for year 9, get them to review one of the podcasts and talk about what they learned. National STEM Club, if you're not aware, there's a National STEM Club happening. And what does that mean? It means videos on YouTube. So if you're struggling to run a STEM club and you still want to have that enrichment factor, because that's a really good place where you can put STEM career learning, and there are loads of videos. Every 2 weeks we release new content. It's basically a suite of club resources. So you can just point to the videos and say, right, okay, pick one that you like, or do 3 over the next 4 weeks. And there's also Nuffield Placements, if you've never heard of it. Year 12 students having the opportunity to do a research placement, and it's funded. It's a lot of it's going to be online over the summer. It's an amazing opportunity for a young person to be linked to an employer and really get an in-depth view. I did a similar thing when I was 18, and that's how I became an engineer. So I cannot speak more positively, especially for those people who potentially were like me, who were a bit wavering, didn't really know. Having a teacher just nudge you into this kind of thing really made a difference. And Catalyst is another online resource which has got some nice career learning woven within it. It's very curriculum focused. I'd say kind of year 9 upwards, just purely because it's very text based. But the website is lovely and yummy and so easy to use. And there's also learning notes that come with each of the articles. So it's like an online magazine, and you can nick the the learning notes and use those as part of your lessons. And then in terms of downloads and stuff and things, the main STEM Careers website. So we're going to be relaunching this website in a month. In the meantime, you can download posters, you can get resources that are related to your subject. And all those resources on there, as well as the usual kind of STEM learning fleet of resources, they're actually career specific resources for each of the STEM subjects. There is an online course if you want to go a bit more in depth. And then there's loads of local training coming out soon. So we've been working really hard over the summer to get training sessions out for governors, for leaders, for teachers, for careers leaders. This is all about kind of how we can support STEM career learning. So you'll find courses for each of the benchmarks. And there's 2 courses for benchmark 4, which is about linking careers to the curriculum. And that's because we kind of, the essential skills content, so employability skills, essential skills, was just so good, we ended up giving it its own. So if those type of things interest you, then keep your eyes on the local training available. Cool, checking my watch. Oh, I think I'm bang on time. So if you want to catch up with me, my Twitter tag's on there. If you do want to contact me, then you can go onto the STEM website. And if you go onto our live chat, or if you send us an email and say, I've got a careers question for Gemma, that will find its way to me. That's a nice way of doing it, and entertaining when they eventually end up in my inbox. Thank you very much. I hope that's been useful. There is a little time for questions, hopefully. John, have I managed it in time?
You are spot on. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. So anybody who's got questions, throw them at Gemma now, or we can save them for the Q&A towards the end with Glen. So any questions, we can pose for a couple of seconds. I think just to reference what Mark's put in the group, so he's obviously got his email address there. So if you want an ambassador, wants to know a little bit more after this, he's your regional contact. Mark is your go-to. So feel free to flood his inbox, as you just said. Fantastic. Okie doke. I'm going to save questions to the end. We can get Glen on now to a little bit more about the Enterprise Advisor Network, virtual work experience, all the fantastic work that's been going on. So over to Glen.
Thank you, Jordan. Just going to share my screen. Just want to make sure that everyone can see that okay.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, fantastic. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you to Gemma. I mean, it was great to have someone so passionate on talking about STEM subjects as well. And in fact, actually, the quality of the speakers that we've had on all this week has been excellent as well. So first of all, my name's Glen. I'm the Enterprise Advisor Network Manager for New Anglia, New Anglia LEP, also working in partnership with the the Careers and Enterprise Company. So I manage the Enterprise Advisor Network across Norfolk and Suffolk, which is essentially supporting schools with recruiting an enterprise advisor to help them work towards achieving the Gatsby benchmarks, which Gemma has mentioned on the previous talk. So I have a team of 10 enterprise coordinators that have a caseload of schools, and they actively go out and recruit enterprise advisors to match up with those schools. I hope a number of you are familiar with the work that we do and are familiar with your local enterprise coordinator as well. What I wanted to do today is just go through a couple of things with my LEP hat on and a couple of things with regards to my CC work as well. So first thing is just with regards to the conference that we've had this week, so the Life Ready, Work Ready conference. We made a decision to focus on the 3 key sectors within Norfolk and Suffolk that have been identified in a local industrial strategy, so around agritech, ICT and clean energy. So those were featured on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. We have already had a question popped into the chat about whether or not those resources are going to be made available for those attendees that weren't able to come on each individual day. That is the case. We will be releasing those probably next week or the following week. And we'll also be coming out with a survey as well, because ideally what we'd like to do is another week later in the year. And we'd really appreciate people's feedback as to how we can improve upon the week that we've delivered so far. Next slide I'm going to show is just around the LEP sector skills plans. So on some of the talks that we've had this week, they were mentioned. I just wanted to highlight where those actually are. So on the New Anglia LEP website, we have the sector skill plans. They cover 15 sectors. I've just featured 4 of them on this slide here. They also highlight what the skills needs are within those sectors, and there's a strong evidence base for each of those sectors as well. And then I just wanted to feature the economic strategy as well. So Katie Snell, who's the sector coordinator for New Anglia LEP, on her talk on Monday, she was talking about the economic strategy and the local industrial strategy. The economic strategy, again, is featured on our website, and I would suggest or recommend, if you do have the time, to have a quick look through that. It does highlight the need for inclusion and skills and what the offer is to the world here in Norfolk and Suffolk as well. And then another thing that I just wanted to highlight with regards to the LEP as well, that we did have a Restart Festival on the 29th and 30th of September. And if you can cast your mind back that far, I know pretty much every day is the same at the moment, but this was around what it is we can do to support the restart of the local economy post-COVID. And there are a number of really useful videos on there around skills for young people, skills for the workforce, recruitment advice for young people, and also some wellbeing videos as well, which I know is really kind of coming to the forefront at the moment. So these links will be shared, but they are hosted on our LEP website, and some really useful bite-sized videos available there from local employers. And then just moving on to the Enterprise Advisor Network, I just wanted to highlight some of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of months and moving from the physical delivery into the remote virtual delivery. So Jordan, who was just doing the introduction there, and his colleague Josie, who you can see in the picture just at the bottom there, came up and created this really useful and informative program called Careers and Coffee. Now, this is broadcast every Tuesday and Thursday. It's a half-hour broadcast live on YouTube, and it features representatives from particular sectors across the region. So we've had a wide variety of sectors featured so far on these broadcasts. I think we're up to about 60 plus broadcasts so far. They are also live, so people that are attending are able to pose questions on there. And we have had some really good feedback from careers leads about them setting these broadcasts as homework, so offline resources. Again, these are all on our website, so you'll be able to find them there as well. And I've just highlighted some of the feedback that we've got on there as well. So as I say, it's been found to be really useful by careers leads, by teachers, and by students themselves. And we've even had some parents come on there and participate as well. And then just highlighting some of the diversity of the guests. So we've had people from, as I say, a wide variety of sectors that have been involved in this. So we've had some people from the fashion industry, we've had people from the law sector, we've had people from the 3 sectors that we featured this week as well. A wide variety of people. We are always on the lookout for new people to come and give us an insight into their sector. So if you have anyone that you think would be interested in coming and sharing their knowledge with the young people across the region, please get in contact and we will look to host them as well. I just then wanted to move on to virtual work experience. It seems to have been a bit of a feature or a number of questions that have happened during the talks by people who've attended to the speakers. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that we're doing at the moment. So I think a couple of the speakers were mentioning the platform Speakers for Schools, which is a free platform. We are hosting a webinar on the 10th of February for schools in conjunction with Speakers for Schools. So this will give them an opportunity to hear a little bit more about the platform and the potential offer that can be there for the young people as well around meaningful work experiences. What we are very conscious of is that meaningful working experiences means that there needs to be that double interaction. Needs to be, a young person needs to have an opportunity to be able to really engage with an employer and ask the questions. So moving away from just those static pre-recorded videos, and how is it they can interact, and how is it they can engage in a meaningful activity as well. So if you have the time, I would recommend attending that webinar on the 10th of February from 4 till 5. Again, we can send out the link for you at a later date. And then just continuing that thread around virtual work experience, the team have been compiling a database of what are the current local and national opportunities for young people. So we have created a Padlet that is featured on our website. And again, that lists all of the available local and national opportunities that are currently out there for virtual work experience. This is regularly reviewed and updated as more opportunities become available. So I would periodically go back and have a look at that as well, and try and distribute as far and wide as you can. So if you have parent mail out lists, I would suggest maybe including that on one of those mail outs as well. What we supported Norfolk County Council with recently as well was just around some work experience guides to make sure that educators and parents and carers and students were getting a real understanding of virtual work experience and what it is. Obviously, at the moment, with the current situation, it does look as if physical work experience is going to be off the cards. So what is it we can do to really make sure that young people still have an understanding of the employability skills and what it is that they need to be learning from a work experience program? These guides can be found on Norfolk County Council's website, Help You Choose. They are really useful. They give a lot of key information there as well. So again, just highlighting the educator guide, what it covers, so helping students to prepare for the event, what the students can expect, what is expected of the student, addressing safeguarding, and how it is that they can update Compass after completing those virtual work experience opportunities as well. Okay, and then as I mentioned, we've also got a parent and carers and guardians guide to work experience for students as well, to give them an understanding of what this new kind of program that's out there is for now as well. And then I just wanted to highlight a couple of local innovators in the virtual work experience sector. So we have Morgan Sindel, who are one of our cornerstone employers, which means they have a key input into the strategic careers inspiration piece across Norfolk and Suffolk. And in July of last year, they developed a really innovative work experience program for a number of young people across the region. And this was looking to address the skills shortage within construction and also encouraging females to apply for degree level apprenticeships. They have done this through Speakers for Schools and then using Google Classrooms as well to provide a series of team meeting rooms for independent working, central meeting room for drop-in presentations, and also for technical guidance as well. So they were also able to provide a virtual tour for students to see the working environment. This then was also able to support the school with working towards Gatsby Benchmark 6 around around work experience, and also Benchmark 2 around a greater understanding of the labour market information. And there was some real positive feedback received around the programme, not just from the students who participated, but actually from some of the parents as well who dropped into some of those sessions to see actually what their child was undertaking. I know that Morgan Sindall have already delivered another session this academic year, and they've got plans to be delivering a couple more, I think, in the remainder of this academic year. And then I just wanted to also highlight Norwich and Norfolk University Hospital. They did a 3-day work experience program as well, again in July, which was very well received by the students. And both of these organisations have been featured in the Careers and Enterprise Company's national mail-outs as being exemplars of virtual work experience best practice as well. And as a result of that, Morgan Sindall have produced a white paper. You'll see that little icon there on the slide about top 10 takeaways for delivering virtual work experience. It's a really useful read. If any of you are thinking of creating virtual work experience programs, I would suggest that as being a starting place for you. It's got some really useful tips. Helen Clements from Morgan Sindall, who actually developed that work experience program, did actually feature on one of our Careers and Coffee broadcasts. It was about 1 hour and 10 minutes in length, and in there she went in real detail about how it is that she got her virtual work experience program up and running, and again some really useful tips for employers, for students and for schools as well, as to get the most out of that virtual work experience program. Okay, next thing I wanted to just highlight was something that Rachel mentioned very briefly on Monday when she gave her presentation, Rachel from the Careers and Enterprise Company. So the Careers and Enterprise Company recently have just launched their resource directory, and that's featured on their website. And this has collated a number of best practice examples from across the network, so utilising various other local enterprise partnerships. On that resource directory, there is a number of, as I say, very, very useful resources that are searchable by benchmark. So as a school or a careers lead, if you're having particular difficulty with a benchmark, so for example, benchmark 2, you can type in benchmark 2 and there'll be a number of resources there that will be able to support you with achieving that benchmark. This is regularly updated, and if you have any examples of resources that you think would be useful cascading to other careers leads and teachers, there is an email address there that you'd be able to send those into, and those can get uploaded to that resource directory as well. We have received some very positive feedback about that. Just last week as well, they also released a guide around benchmark 4 on how to embed careers within the curriculum. That's in collaboration with Skills Builder. At the moment, there are only, I think, 4 subject areas that are covered, but they are planning on releasing other subject guides as well throughout the academic year. So just to go in a little bit more detail around what's contained within that resource directory. So there's some training and development guidance in there, useful guidance for employers as well, how it is that they can engage with young people, as I mentioned, support around the Gatsby benchmarks, some SEND resources as well, and then My Choices video, which is to support pupils with transition during year 11 and year 13, which was done in conjunction with Oak Academy. And I just wanted to mention National Apprenticeship Week. So National Apprenticeship Week is next week, and one of the members of the team, I'm just going to give a bit of a shout out to my colleague Josie Finch, has created a very useful PowerPoint guide that has a number of resources within it to be able to support with anything that you have planned for Apprenticeship Week next week. We have sent this out to careers leaders as a mail out this week. If you haven't received that and would like to receive it, please let me know. There are, as I say, a number of really useful resources in there. We will also be this week featuring apprentices on our Careers and Coffee broadcast. So this on Tuesday at 12:30, you'll be able to hear from a range of apprenticeships from across Norfolk, giving an insight into an apprenticeship and what it's like to train on the job as well, and those pathways. And on Thursday, we'll be having a conversation with an apprentice executive director as well. So again, just giving an insight into apprenticeship pathways. Those again are live broadcasts, so there will be an opportunity to ask questions throughout those broadcasts. And then lastly, I don't have a slide for this, but I just wanted to highlight that it's going to be National Careers Week from the 1st of March. We are going to be giving a focus on clean energy during that week, but there will be a number of resources that we will be sending out close to the time as well. And again, there'll be some live broadcasts around those. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention another LMI presentation that we will be giving in March. So unfortunately, Sarah from EDF wasn't able to deliver her presentation due to some technical difficulties. However, we will be having her colleague that will be joining us on the 9th of March. Thomas Thayer, and he will be giving an hour's presentation on EDF and pathways within the clean energy sector as well. So thank you everyone for your time. Lastly as well, I just wanted to thank all of the presenters that have been with us this week as well for the really, really informative sessions that they have delivered. So thank you.
Stuff. Thank you so much, Glenn. So, folks, this is an opportunity to throw some questions at both Gemma and Glenn based on their talk. So anything to do with STEM, anything to do with virtual work experience, some of the areas that Glenn talked about there, so whether it be meaningful employee encounters or any work and case studies that he's mentioned throughout, feel free to pop them into the chat and then we can sort of begin Q&A if there are any questions, of course. Well, I think probably I'll just to throw one out there. If anybody doesn't know who to contact for EAN stuff, where's the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, good question, John. So initially, if they can just email myself, so that will be part of the email out that we send out next week. So my email address is glen.todd, T-O-D-D, @newanglia.co.uk.
Fantastic, thank you.
I'm going to ask a question actually, if that's okay, being one of the panelists, and obviously the only panelist that we have with us is Gemma. So it's a big question for you, Gemma. You mentioned about your role model as a STEM ambassador and how those Victorian top hats weren't particularly relatable to the young people of today. So I just wanted to ask, who are the most relatable female kind of STEM ambassadors at the moment? Who is it that gets the young people excited?
Oh, nothing like asking a 38-year-old what gets some people excited. I think, great question. I think my take here is ask young people will get them excited and use that as the route that you reach them. The way I used to do it in my classroom was, you don't need to be famous to be famous. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when I brought a STEM ambassador in, they became famous. So I think a lot of the time we kind of wait for a big name, or we think that it needs to be a big employer, but it's all I really need in life is lots and lots of experiences for young people to have where they can go home and talk to their parents, ideally about something they've done in that classroom around careers. Whether it be on Snapchat or TikTok or whatever the kids are doing nowadays.
So do you find then that it's the enterprise activity rather than the talk itself that gets the young person most excited about the STEM career and gets them talking about that when they go back home to their parent or carer? I think
that's why it's just a wide range of opportunities. I know we kind of like simple brain, repeatable, but just vary it up and ask the kids what they liked, and if they liked that, then do that a couple of times more, but don't let that write the script. I think with this, what I'm learning from kind of studying the research and talking to people is everyone has their own passion. Everyone's like, whenever I say I'm going to do a presentation on careers, STEM careers, like, well, how am I going to condense that into 20 minutes? Because it's just amorphous. So if you just keep doing lots and lots and lots of different things, then all those different little personalities in front of you will find something, hopefully, that they grab hold of. So the thing that I do find quite common around STEM is particular sectors get overused. So it might be that you're trying to cover, you're providing lots of opportunities, but actually they're all within the same sector. So I use my example as I used to be an electrical engineer. So don't plug anything in Derbyshire that I've been there. And I was always I thought I was doing a fantastic job at inspiring young people to become engineers. And actually what I did is just talk to them about like electrical engineering all the time. And didn't give them a spread of even different jobs outside of engineering. So if you're looking to kind of, am I doing a wide range of models? Just go back to the triggers of what did they look like? What did they talk about? Where did they come from? And if you've just gone down a construction route for a little too long, pull back. And another kind of a trick to try and think about what are the different jobs available. A D&T teacher, start with a product and then just think about all the different people that were involved in the creation of that product or that process. And you'll suddenly start to kind of explode the amount of jobs that are out there. So if you're struggling for ideas about who to get, then just kind of, even if when it comes to STEM ambassadors, don't put a request that's looking for a job, put a request that uses a skill. And then you hopefully will cast the net wider because there's loads of jobs that use loads of skills. There might only be one of that job that you're thinking of.
That's excellent.
Hopefully that's
Thank
useful.
you, Gemma. We've got a couple of questions for you. So, Gemma, would you like to talk a little bit more about building science capital?
Oh, and another comment about latest developments in STEM. Oh, great questions. So building science capital, the best place to go for that is the UCL website. If you type in developing science capital or the science capital teaching approach, that is a really, really good resource. It basically, the team at UCL have created videos from teachers who are using the science capital approach of teaching. And it's essentially eliciting information from young people, valuing what they've given you, and then using that to present the content back to them. I think when you kind of look at that spread, I think the example that Louisa actually uses of that young person who's got lots and lots of STEM experiences, has done lots of STEM competitions and lots of challenges, and has a good teacher, but still isn't interested. And that's because there's that kind of, it is this combination of parental influence, kind of peer influence, having good quality teachers, having a good quality experience in the lessons, and having that kind of enrichment opportunity. So in terms of what you can do as a teacher or an ambassador, have a look on the UCL website, Google Science Capital teaching approach, and the guide in there is really, really, really good. And keeping up with the latest developments, oh, that's a great question. How does anyone keep up to date? I mean, there's I think for me, it depends on what the developments are. If it's about what's coming up in industry, the best way to do that is to speak to people from industry. So like, be part of a networking event, talk to people, come to a STEMbassador networking event, virtual or face-to-face, and just find out what's going on. In terms of advancements in STEM education and STEM research, that's a different conversation, because it just feels like it's constantly moving. It's really, really difficult. So what we're doing at STEM Learning is we're developing kind of more ways of getting that research out to people. So kind of keep your eyes on the STEM Learning website, and hopefully you'll see some more about a research journal group that we're starting to build. The STEM community might be worth looking into that. Yeah, I'll finish off. The STEM community is a good place to get to that, and then I'll kind of hand over. So the STEM community is a kind of live forum where people can be sharing ideas, teachers in primary and secondary. So that might be a good place to go for latest developments. There you go, Mark. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, that's all right. No, I thought you'd finished. But I was just going to add, if you want to, any of you want to read the two Aspires reports, Aspires 1 and 2, which were done by King's College London, and also it's now the centre is now hosted by UCL. Those two reports have significantly guided how we do STEM outreach. So they're well reading. I know you're really busy, but they're incredibly informative, and it's where the idea for Science Capital comes from. You get an idea of the underlying data and how it works. So yeah, they're really good. And also some schools have got enthusiastic partnerships, which STEM Learning run as well. And there's an opportunity in there for you to have placements during the holidays into research. So we've certainly put some chemistry teachers into research positions for a couple of weeks and industry, so they get a bit more hands-on real experience, and particularly if you haven't been in industry for a very long time or at all, it's a good way of upskilling your practical skills, and the opportunities out there as well. So I've taken teachers out to Iceland to do GeoPhys with them, so geography teachers and stuff like that before, and that's funded by a similar route, not by STEM Learning but UKRI, but it's run by STEM Learning. So yeah, there's opportunities there as well to re-engage that Gemma knows about.
Yeah, I'm the educational lead for Enthused Partnerships as well. I wear like a thousand hats. This being in charge of careers means that I kind of end up being everywhere in some capacity. Yeah, the Aspires work is really formative. If you can't read the reports, then the videos that they've produced are based on that. So you've got something which is chunkable, something which is a deep read.
Excellent, thank you, folks. Gemma, we've got another question for you. So, what do you suggest would be a good way to encourage students who just are not high achieving, so basically are not good with maths, for instance, and not likely to get higher than a set grade? What opportunities are there for them?
That is a great question. And opportunities is, I think I would say, is slightly more challenging for me to answer, because that's very much down to the employer position. the local employers that are available. In terms of further study routes, again, it's knowing what the opportunities are. I don't know if you're a careers leader or a teacher, understanding what the opportunities are and what the entry grades are for different further study routes. If it's about inspiration and encouragement, then the biggest thing there is looking at those 6 strategies. They aren't academically led. So seeing the transferability of what you're learning in a lesson, helping students value the fact that they have this knowledge, whether it's a high ability knowledge or a low ability knowledge, just knowing that they value it, and helping them to see how what they're learning in your lesson is going to be relevant for them. I think the saddest thing is when a kid decides that that what they're learning with you is irrelevant now, because they've chosen this career. And it's like that's a full stop then. Okay, so you've chosen a career, so that's it. But actually the world is a changing place. So I think kind of reflecting on those 6 strategies, it's still kind of maintaining the wide variety of experiences, the wide variety of role models. And the biggie there might be working with your student alumni and finding out where your alumni have ended up and how they left your school, what grades they left with and where they are now, and how they did that journey. So again, that's working strategically with whoever's responsible for careers in your school and finding out if you're tracking alumni and what their journey was. I think for those students, a lot of the advice is they really need to see someone who's been in their situation. They need to be able to kind of draw a parallel between their experiences and their own experiences to kind of make the leap.
Excellent. Thank you, Gemma. And another question. So how are you engaging with SEN secondary schools with STEM?
Oh, good question. I think there's lots and lots of work going on. The Infused Partnerships, as has been mentioned, is a collaboration of 6 to 10 schools that work together. We've got SEN specific Infused Partnerships that are engaging in training. There's training that's specific to a SEN environment. I think in terms of training, it's a case of getting in touch with your local science learning partnership or computing hub. Both have got training available, which is SEN specific. And then if it comes to a more collaborative project, then we have got Infused Partnerships where, again, it's kind of a Google Infused Partnerships where we've got funding in place to support SEN schools to work together or to work collaboratively with local schools. In terms of resources, there's an interesting conversation at the minute about how we do more to enable STEM ambassadors to have conversations about potentially STEM ambassadors who have additional needs, how we talk about that. But that's the kind of really early days. And what we're doing there is working with the Careers and Enterprise Company, who've set up some fantastic pilot projects around SEND. So we're feeding in the STEM side of that to see how we can knit that together as it grows.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other questions for our long panelists?
Good questions.
Got another one. So is the virtual work experience suitable for college students year 12 and 13, or is it aimed specifically at secondary schools? That's probably for Glen.
I think, yeah, sorry, I think that might be related to the question I just put in the answer I just put to the question that Gaynor posed. From my understanding of those programs, it is aimed at secondary school students.
Excellent, thank you. Have we got any further questions for our panelists? I think the questions have been fantastic, actually, this afternoon.
Challenging. Get me thinking before I did that.
Even for a Friday afternoon. I'm very impressed.
It's good sharing of ideas as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Liz just mentioned, so Balfour BT are running a virtual work experience project aimed at Lowestoft students in February half term. That's fantastic. Excellent. Thank you for that, Lizzie. Appreciate it.
What a great community you've got.
Excellent. Well, if there's no further questions for the panelists, I think it's a huge, huge thank you for everybody who's joined this week. Any sessions that you've been to, and just a massive thank you to probably Julianne and Mark overall. I know that myself, Glen, Madeline have supported, but definitely Mark and Julianne have went above and beyond to get this week organised. I know it's not easy trying to sort out speakers, and there's been some technical mishaps behind the scenes, but huge well done for them to get this organised and for us all to be here, and also to have 24 folks on call on a Friday afternoon. I'm thoroughly impressed with that. I think at the moment, professional development hasn't been more important for us to ensure that we are up to date with labour market trends, and it seems to be changing every single day at the moment. It means that us in education as employers, we're able to support young people to give them more informed information about what's going on, to hopefully ensure that regardless what happens, they are prepared and inspired for the world of work moving forward. So just a huge thank you for all the panelists supporting, and obviously for everybody behind the scenes to be able to do that. So as I said, if there's no more questions, I think we'll wrap it up there, 30 minutes early. All of these sessions will be recorded, and I'm sure that Mark and Julianne will be in touch next week to be able to say how we're able to access those, so that if you've got colleagues who would like to go and watch them again, then definitely go for it. I actually had a contact me this week because a student wanted to go and watch EDF's one on Wednesday and asked if it's going to be recorded. So it just shows that, you know, there is definitely lots of folks who do want to see these. So yeah, huge thank you for joining. Yeah, enjoy your weekend.